During a family meeting with her husband and children, a woman named Jess says she wants them to feel connected again, especially with Christmas approaching. She then mentions that the next day will be a big one for the family because she has a big presentation at work, while her son Wyatt is having a Yale interview and her daughter Cece is having her big football game. Wyatt adds that they must all come with him to the planetarium to watch a planetary alignment. Jess's husband, Bill, says he has band practice later that day with his new band, but his wife insists that everyone should be there for Wyatt. Following this, the meeting gets adjourned, and they all go about their daily lives. While Cece arrives at school and instantly meets with her friends, Wyatt tries to avoid a bully named Hunter. Even though he tries his best, he suddenly gets distracted while watching a girl named Ariana walking through the hallway, and this makes Hunter find him. Elsewhere, Bill arrives for his job as a music teacher. While he's in class, he is called by his fellow band members, who inform him that they've secured an audition that could make their band famous. Bill is excited by this news, and he also learns that a TV crew will be coming to film them for the audition during their performance at the school dance in a few days. Elsewhere, Jess arrives at work and meets with her assistant Kara. After exchanging pleasantries with her other colleagues, Jess's boss, Haynes, shows up with a co-worker named Steven. He commends both of them for their work so far, but he mentions that the upcoming presentation for a man named Molson must be very good. He adds that if any of them help seal the project, they'll become a partner at the company. After Haynes leaves, Steven looks very interested in the offer, but Kara doesn't seem to like him. As she then follows Jess to her office, she asks if her boss will need any help from her team. However, Jess says she can handle everything that comes her way. Meanwhile, Cece does well in training, and her coach calls her afterward to inform her that a scout from the national team is coming to watch her next game. Cece is excited to hear this, and she tells her best friend Ava. Even though her friend is happy for her, Cece mentions that she's not sure her mom will like the news. Shortly after, Cece has to leave school and join her family for a visit to the planetarium, with her baby brother Miles and their dog Pickles also coming along. As they get there, they see a fortune teller named Angelica, who says that the family looks like it needs some Christmas magic. She also adds that all they need is to open their hearts and view things through the lens of one another. Jess and her family eventually walk away from Angelica, and while the ladies move to the telescope room, Bill and Wyatt head over to get some snacks. On their way, Cece tells her mom about the scout coming to her game and what it means, but Jess doesn't look happy about this because she thinks Cece should not entirely focus on her dream of becoming a footballer. They eventually argue about this, with Cece getting angry and walking away because she thinks Jess wants them to be alike. Elsewhere, Wyatt tells Bill that he's scared of failing his Yale interview, which is a popular college. This forces Bill to ask if his son is really ready for college at such a young age. Bill tries to advise him to take a break and enjoy his life instead, but Wyatt says it's not what he wants, and that he also doesn't want to do things like his father. When the family reunites, they all look moody, and while the kids complain to each other about what happened, Bill and Jess also think it was a bad idea to come to the planetarium. Shortly after, they enter the telescope room together, but the argument continues. Cece then says she wishes Jess could be her for one day so she could see how much work she puts in at school. Jess also says she wouldn't mind letting Cece take her place for one day to see how hard she works. At the same time, Wyatt says he would love for Bill to know what it's like to be him. Bill also says the same thing, and after they're all done arguing, Jess says she just wants to take a picture with her family. Angelica then shows up and offers to help them take the picture. As she takes the picture, a white light flashes in front of the family, and a strange wind also makes them fall and break the telescope. The family looks terrified by this, and as they prepare to leave, baby Miles picks up one of the telescope's lenses, which fell off. As they get home that night, they all head straight to bed, with a strange electric surge happening outside. In the morning, each family member wakes up only to realize they're in a different body. Jess and Cece appear to have switched bodies, while Bill and Wyatt have also swapped bodies. They freak out when they realize this, especially because it's a big day in their respective lives. As they try to understand what happened to them, they realize that the wishes they made at the telescope room during the planetary alignment have all come to pass. They then decide to head back to the planetarium to see if they can switch back their bodies. Before they can do anything, though, they see that Miles and their dog, Pickles, have also switched bodies. Miles then runs out of the house in his new body, but his family runs after him. After a while, a man named Rolf eventually picks him up and suggests helping the family train their dog. However, the family is not interested because Miles is now the dog. They then head back home to prepare for their day. Despite having a series of arguments about their new looks, they all get ready to leave the house. However, they realize that Wyatt can't drive them, so they all get scooters. After they get to the planetarium to check on the telescope, the repairman named Zach tells them it won't be ready until next week. Because they can't afford to wait that long, Bill offers to pay some money to get it done in a day, and Zach agrees. Following this, they agree to deal with each other's bodies for just one day. After handing over Miles and Pickles to Rolf to babysit them, the family heads out to face their different lives. Jess follows Cece to her office, and even though Kara and the others discover that something is wrong, they don't say anything. As they plan what to do, Cece asks Jess why she doesn't let her team do anything, but she says she just prefers to do it alone. She then decides to write some notes for Cece to read at the meeting. While she does this, Cece finds a bowl of ice cream in the fridge, and she takes a few spoons. Later on, Cece goes to the meeting with Molson, but she doesn't impress him. As he runs out of patience, Jess begs him to wait, but just as Cece is about to start all over, she starts feeling weird in the stomach. She then mentions the ice cream she took earlier, and Jess looks disappointed because she's lactose intolerant. Before she can think of how to save the situation, Cece farts repeatedly, and this gets everyone disgusted. Elsewhere, Wyatt tries to get Bill to sneak into school unnoticed, but his dad appears to be quite good around people. Much later, Wyatt gets Bill ready for the Yale interview. Even though he's scared his dad will ruin it, Bill says he'll do his best. However, as Bill goes in, he embarrasses Wyatt and leaves the panel confused about his level of intelligence. Luckily, Wyatt's day gets better when Ariana meets him waiting for Bill to come out. She thinks she's speaking to Bill, so she says she hopes Wyatt does well. She then mentions how they used to be really good childhood friends. Wyatt is shocked to also see how well Ariana talks about him, and after talking to her for a while, he realizes that they have a lot in common. Before she leaves, she asks if Wyatt could come for a party at Hunter's house, and he responds as his father, saying he'll be there. Meanwhile, Rolf struggles with Miles and Pickles because they're both acting weird. While he's at it, Jess calls him to ask how things are going, but he says he's handling the situation well. Shortly after, Jess complains about how Cece ruined her presentation. Despite this, Cece begs her mom not to ruin her game, and Jess says she'll do well. A while later, Jess plays in Cece's game, with a scout watching. However, her performance is woeful, and this gets Cece frustrated, even as Jess's friend Carrie tries to talk to her. At halftime, Cece runs to the sidelines to give instructions to the team, even with the coach still there. The new game plan seems to work well, but just as Jess gets the chance to score the winning goal, she hits the goalkeeper of the other team. Despite this, play continues, but instead of scoring, she goes back to check on the injured girl. Cece is left disappointed by this, and she also watches as the scout leaves. After the game, Cece blames her mom for intentionally ruining her chances with the national team. She also adds that the real reason she wants to join the team is to be able to leave the house. Following this, the family returns home to pick up Miles and Pickles so they can all head to the planetarium. As they get there, Zach tells them that even though he tried to get the telescope fixed, he couldn't find one of its lenses. Because the next alignment is still a long time away, Wyatt starts to get worried because the missing lens can't arrive in time from where it is specially made. The family is disappointed about this, and as they head out, they see Angelica again. They don't seem to be in the mood for her, but Angelica says they only need to fix what's broken. Cece tells Angelica that it's impossible for them to do that without the missing lens, but just then, Wyatt remembers that one of his friends, Spock, works at SpaceX. Since the company has the technology needed to manufacture the lens, Wyatt decides to call Spock for help. Following this, Bill decides to call a cab to take them home, but Angelica offers to give them a ride. After they get there, Wyatt looks really sad and tells Bill that he thought he'd have gotten his body back so he could go to Hunter's party with Ariana. As he heads to his room, Bill then suggests going to Hunter's party with Jess, and even though she initially hesitates, she agrees to do it to help Wyatt. With this, they sneak out of the house and make it to the party. Meanwhile, Cece and Wyatt are wondering what to do next when Carrie comes in with her other friends to hang out with Jess. The kids are left shocked by this, but Carrie mentions that it's something they do quite often, and that it's Jess's turn to make dinner for the group. After realizing that their parents are not around, Cece and Wyatt decide to cook dinner for the women. Despite saying they've seen Jess do it many times, the kids struggle to prepare a good meal. Meanwhile, Ariana approaches Bill at Hunter's party, and shortly after she tries to close to him. However, Bill stops her and leaves her embarrassed. Elsewhere, Cece and Wyatt are through with preparing dinner, but as they're about to serve it, they learn that their parents are at Hunter's party, so they head over there. Back at the party, Bill tells Jess about what happened with Ariana, and she thinks he did the right thing. As they're then about to leave, Hunter tries to bully Bill. Everyone stops to watch, but Bill stands up for himself and makes fun of Hunter. He also hits the bully after dodging a punch. Hunter is shocked by this because he never thought Wyatt could stand up for himself, but he doesn't know it's Bill, who everyone starts cheering for. Bill and Jess decide to stay longer at the party, and as they enjoy themselves, Wyatt and Cece soon show up. Despite initially complaining about their parents' dance moves, they all then dance together. However, their fun is cut short when the cops arrive at the party, so they have to leave. On their way out, Ariana tries to tell Wyatt about what happened earlier, but he doesn't understand. When he gets home, he asks Bill about it, and he says Ariana tried to close to him. Wyatt is not happy about this, and they all agree that it was a mistake to go to the party. In the morning, they all leave the house to continue another day in their switched bodies because Spock won't have the lens ready until later in the day. While Jess has gotten a second chance with Molson, Cece also has a test that day. Because of this, they decide to handle each other's lives, though Cece says she'll now do things her way. As she gets to work, Cece tells Kara that she wants Jess's team to help her in the meeting. Kara is happy about this, and after a brief meeting with the team members, Cece looks ready for the presentation. Elsewhere, Jess takes a test for Cece, and after she's done, she goes to ask the teacher about Cece's grades. The teacher says she's actually improving, and that her mom would even be proud of her. At this point, Jess realizes that she might have been too hard on her daughter. Elsewhere, Wyatt gets nervous as he's about to take Bill's place in his band. He goes to hide in the bathroom, and there he hears some kids complaining about how Bill had to leave his former band just to end up as a father to Wyatt. This hurts Wyatt, but he doesn't say anything. Back at the office, Cece asks Kara if Jess has ever mentioned that her daughter is a football player. Kara then says that Jess always shows everyone videos of her daughter's skills. She also mentions the sacrifices Jess has made to ensure Cece succeeds with her football dream. She then adds that Jess hasn't had a vacation in years because she never wants to miss Cece's games. As Kara leaves, Jess shows up, and as she sees Cece, they both say sorry for being too hard on each other. Shortly after, Cece goes for the presentation, but while she's at it, she gets a text from Bill saying he doesn't know where Wyatt is. She then hands over the presentation to her team so she can leave with Jess to attend to her family emergency. As they get to the show, they decide to split, and after a while, Bill finds Wyatt in the bathroom. Wyatt says he's scared of climbing the stage because he thinks he'll disappoint his dad. He also mentions what he heard from the boys, but Bill tells him not to worry about that. As Wyatt then hears that his dad was formerly part of Maroon 5, he looks shocked, but Bill says he doesn't regret leaving because he's happy to be a father. Shortly after, Jess and Cece come into the bathroom, and as they all then hold hands, Wyatt says he's ready to perform on stage as long as his family is with him. They all agree to go with him, and after he gets on stage, he performs brilliantly. After the performance, the judge praises the band and agrees to give them a shot at making it into the industry. They all look happy about this, and Kara also shows up with Molson, who says the presentation by her team was flawless. He approves the project, and Haynes shows up to congratulate her on becoming a partner. Shortly after, Spock also shows up and gives the lens to Wyatt. With this, the family then decides to head to the planetarium before the alignment ends. They have no choice but to let Wyatt drive, but he ends up wrecking the car. As they wonder if they'll still make it, Angelica shows up and offers them a ride. Shortly after, they make it to the planetarium, but just as he enters the telescope room, Wyatt slips and the lens breaks. As they all look really sad, Miles picks out the missing lens from his pocket. The family looks happy with this, but as they use the lens before the alignment ends, nothing seems to happen. They're all disappointed by this, and a while later, they return home in Angelica's van. As everyone gets down, Cece tells Angelica that they did what she asked by fixing the telescope, but Angelica says she told them to fix what was broken and not the telescope. Cece looks confused, but as she's about to leave, Angelica calls her by her name, and this gets her shocked because she's still in Jess's body. She eventually joins her family inside, and after a while, they all fall asleep on the couch, with a strange electric surge happening outside. In the morning, they all wake up to see that they've returned to their real bodies. They're happy with this, and as they look excited, Wyatt gets a rejection mail from Yale. Before he can process that, Ariana shows up at the house. When he meets with her, she gives him a present they used to share as kids, saying it will keep him company when he goes to Yale. He, however, says he's not going and that he'll take some time to enjoy himself instead. Just then, she says she likes him, and he looks happy about this. He then asks if they can hang out later, and she agrees. After she leaves, the scout from the national team arrives, asking to see CC. As he meets her, he tells her that he wants to give her a second chance. He mentions that even though her performance was odd during her big game, the fact she decided to help an opponent instead of scoring showed that she has the kind of character needed in the team. CC is happy about this, but she says she needs to ask Jess first. When she asks, Jess tells her to accept the offer. She also mentions that she'll always support her daughter's dream. Just then, the scout leaves CC with a national team jersey and tells her that he'll see her during the tryouts. After he leaves, the family comes out in the snow and they look excited about how things have gone for them. Angelica then passes with her van and wishes them a happy Christmas while they watch her drive away.